Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us on this Monday, Martin Luther King Jr. Day. I'm Chris Pisano. Jordan is off tonight. The U.S. Capitol fortified and on high alert ahead of President-elect Joe Biden's inauguration on Wednesday. 21,000 troops now in our nation's capital. But after a violent mob seized the U.S. Capitol, some worry about extremism in the ranks. So to alleviate concerns, all National Guard troops deployed to D.C. have had to go through additional layers of screening.
The FBI is part of it, the Secret Service is part of it, and once they are certain that there's no insider threat, then that soldier, guardsman or airman is given a credential.
The unrest and fear at our nation's capital closing down many public places, including the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial Site. The presidential inauguration just 2 days away, where Joe Biden will be sworn in as the 46th president of the United States. Many Massachusetts lawmakers are also heading down to the country's capital. And Western Mass News reporter Kayla Burton caught up with Congressman Richard Neal on what we can expect here in Western Mass. Kayla?
Chris, Congressman Richard Neal tells me the most important focus every American should have during this year's presidential inauguration is nothing new, witnessing the transition of power.
The peaceful transition of power in American history has been pretty unique. We always know when there's going to be a presidential election on the first Tuesday after the first Monday in an even-numbered year, every 4 years.
In just a couple of days, President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris will be sworn into office as the 46th President and Vice President of the United States. Congressman Richard Neal tells Western Mass News he anticipates Biden acknowledging the divided America seen today.
Being the institutionalist that he is, he's going to offer a conciliatory address that recognizes the challenges that we confront as a nation, including the pandemic and a slowing economy.
With an abundant number of National Guard members scattered in Washington, D.C., as well as all over the country, prepared to protect any threats made to the inauguration, Neal says it's just as significant Biden delivers an important message to the American people on Wednesday.
I think that there's a pretty profound opportunity here for him to offer a dimension of reassurance to the American people.
Neal says while he recognizes there are mixed feelings all across the nation towards this year's presidential inauguration, it's crucial every American is a part of it.
I can't emphasize enough how important it is to conduct this inauguration in full public view. And I know there won't be many people in the audience as there was in past inaugurations, but I think that the American people should be able to witness the transition of power. That's, I think, central to an inauguration.
Neal says one other point to keep in mind.
It's not about the personalities. It's about our reverence for the institutions of American governance and American life.
Congressman Neal also advising that every American may remember the whole world will be watching this year's presidential inauguration and how the American people will respond to it all. Live in Springfield, Kayla Burton, Western Mass News.
Kayla, thank you for that live report. New at 6, the Massachusetts Veterans of Foreign Wars Honor Guard has been selected to represent our state in the presidential inauguration parade. And most veterans participating are from right here in Western Mass. Western Mass News reporter Lindsay Kane joins us live with more on that. Lindsay?
Chris, the parade will be a virtual event this year, but for the first time in history, all states and territories will be represented. Representing the Bay State is the Massachusetts Veterans of Foreign Wars Honor Guard, Brian Willett, his daughter and VFW Commander Christine Lupacino, Eric Segundo, Renee Fuertes, and Keith Buckhout. Willett says they are proud to be a part of such a historic tradition.
It's a huge honor for us to participate in this special day, the inauguration day, a tradition that goes back to the founding of our country, really. And it's a day of unity. It's a day for all Americans to unite, wishing well the new president, and we're glad to be part of it.
Because of the coronavirus pandemic, the VFW will not be headed to Washington, D.C. Instead, they submitted a series of video clips that will air after the inauguration as part of the virtual parade across America. Only one group in each state and territory was chosen. Lupacino says this honor is even more special to her because she gets to participate with her father by her side.
It's definitely a wonderful experience to do that with him. I love getting together with them and doing these ceremonies and stuff, and I wouldn't have even been doing any of this if it wasn't for him in the first place, so I'm very proud to be able to do that.
The parade will air on Wednesday around 3:15 p.m. and you can look for the VFW wearing World War II uniforms. Live in Springfield, Lindsay Kane, Western Mass News.
Lindsay, thanks for that live report. New at 6, one person's in the hospital following a serious accident that happened on Allen Street in Springfield. This was the scene when our Western Mass News crews arrived. The fire department tells us the accident involved 2 vehicles and one person had to be removed from their vehicle and sent to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. The accident is still under investigation. The city of Springfield holding a virtual celebration of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day titled, "The Dream is Calling You."
I have a dream that one day all will be treated as equal in the image of God, not as a man-made sequel.
Today's event included performances by Springfield students involved in a local music program and sermons by local pastors. Governor Charlie Baker joining the Springfield virtual celebration to share what's been done on the state level since the murder of George Floyd sparked the Black Lives Matter movement, a movement Governor Baker says King would have been proud of.
In Massachusetts, that movement led to bipartisan police reform legislation that significantly increases accountability and transparency for law enforcement. I was proud to sign that legislation, which is one of the most comprehensive approaches to police reform in the country since the tragic loss of George Floyd. It's a big step forward in promoting racial justice, and will also continue to battle a pandemic that laid bare the health disparities that exist for communities of color.
This year's celebration, hosted by the public access channel Focus Springfield, was dedicated to all community members who lost their lives to COVID-19.
Well, we did see some pretty colors out there tonight as the sun went down. Kind of dramatic skies at times. This picture taken in Whately tonight from Barbara. Some pretty beautiful colors. We saw something similar here in Springfield as well. Now tonight, clouds have started to partially clear out, and that should continue through the rest of the evening. There are still some snow showers, though, slowly making their way southward through Berkshire County, and that might coat roadways if you haven't seen them coated already from continued snow showers throughout the afternoon. So just travel with caution if you are out that way. Meanwhile, the valley should stay dry through the rest of the evening. Current conditions, we're back to the middle 30s right now, and Springfield Viaduct is dry, but that wind is persistent. Right now, 15-mile-an-hour sustained winds out of the northwest, occasionally gusting to 20 miles an hour. So while everybody is pretty much above freezing at this point, except for a few spotty upper 20s there in Cummington and Pittsfield, it is feeling colder because of the wind, which again, right now is at about 8 to 16 miles an hour sustained. So that puts our wind chills in the 20s, but once you get into the Berkshires, wind chills are starting to dip into the teens. So it's a little rough. It's nothing crazy for January, but it's colder than it has been, so make sure you bundle up. Throughout the rest of the evening, temperatures will be dropping into the 20s here across the lower valley. Breezes will lighten up a little bit, but we do keep a 5 to 10 mile an hour wind overnight with clear skies. Tomorrow morning, we should start off in the middle 20s, so a cold morning, also a little brisk. We will have that wind at about 5 miles an hour. Skies will be partly cloudy, but we do have a lot of patchy clouds again on tap for your Tuesday. A little bit less sunshine than today. Might have a couple of flurries toward the end of the day, but most of your day is looking dry. And then it starts turning colder through the mid to late part of the week. We'll take a closer look at your forecast in just a few minutes. Chris?
Janna, thanks. Phase 2 of the COVID-19 vaccination plan here in Massachusetts starts in February. At the top of that list to get the vaccine are those who are at high risk for having COVID-19 complications. Western Mass News reporter Sarah Granelli joins us live with the latest on that. Sarah?
Chris, it's quite interesting. Those who smoke and have other pre-existing conditions will be able to get the COVID-19 vaccine sooner than you would expect. Massachusetts will enter phase 2 of the coronavirus vaccination plan in February. This is a list in order of priority on who will get the vaccine first. On top are those who have 2 or more comorbidities, meaning people who are at high risk for COVID-19 complications. Then comes those who are 75 and older, and then residents and staff who live in public and private low-income and affordable senior housing. Western Mass News is breaking down who could be at risk for COVID-19 complications. According to the CDC, that includes a long list of health issues like cancer, chronic kidney disease, and even smoking.
Smoking, in particular, as we know, is a direct, assault on the lungs, in that it creates a significant amount of inflammation and can lead to many different things, including a slowing of, the ability to clear infections out of the, respiratory pathways.
The chief medical officer at Mercy Medical Center, Dr. Robert Roos, says someone who smokes could face complications.
And also can impact, the immune system. And so it's not surprising, as smoking is a risk factor for multiple different types of pneumonias, that it would also be a risk factor to increase the concern if somebody were to contract COVID.
He says with the virus continuing to ravage the country, this is a great time to consider quitting.
I would always encourage people that are smoking to consider reducing their intake and quitting.
Now, if you are eligible to get the COVID-19 vaccine, Mercy Medical Center will be opening up a vaccination site by tomorrow. Live in Springfield, I'm Sarah Grunelli for Western Mass News.
Sarah, thanks for that live report. And now to the latest coronavirus numbers in the state over the last 2 weeks. Today, the Mass Department of Public Health reporting more than 3,000 new cases of the coronavirus. So that brings the total number of confirmed cases in the Bay State to more than 451,000. Nearly 100,000 of those are believed to currently be active. And the state also reporting 52 new deaths. The statewide death toll stands at more than 13,000. Now at 6, an N95 Mask Drive was held in Springfield today in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. We spoke with Bud Williams, a state representative in Springfield today, and he said he believed there were about 200 to 300 cars that showed up at the drive-thru. He explained that they had many sponsors, including local churches, that helped to make this drive happen.
Cast an N95 mask because your life does matter. And what great better time than on Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday weekend celebration to pass out masks to keep our community safe.
Williams explained that access to masks in the black and brown communities can be a problem, especially N95 masks. He tells Western Mass News that this is the first of many opportunities that the Springfield Black COVID Coalition will take to provide masks to those who need them.